Introduction. My name is Lin Yuan and I have traveled through time. I am very anxious now because I have become a cultivator. Although cultivating immortals in this world is very simple. As long as you close your eyes, you can hear the sound of the Tao and explain many miraculous methods. Advanced martial arts, free of charge. Sword technique and magic, providing thoughtful guidance. But I am still very panicked. Because this immortal cannot be cultivated. In Chapter 1, we have one cultivator among us. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Dirty Power, 3 sections. Looking at the test results on the electronic display screen ahead, Lin Yuan sighed dejectedly and removed the testing equipment from his body. A bitter sigh appeared on his face. The staff member in charge of testing on the opposite side showed a friendly smile and comforted Lin Yuan, saying, "Not bad, this value is very stable and always within a controllable range, which is a normal phenomenon. If there are no problems in the next 2 tests, then you can basically confirm that you have not been contaminated." Okay, next person. Lin Yuan nodded, intending to ask a few more questions, but the long queue of people immediately surged behind him, pushing him out of the queue. And the staff have already started to contact the next possible carrier of pollution, so they don't bother talking to him anymore. Lin Yuan knows that his work for today has been completed. Next, you need to return to your residence and wait for tomorrow's test. As for the next 2 words and the like, he didn't believe a single word and started listening to the other person's words the next day. It has been over a month now, so I still say so. Being quarantined while traveling, who's worse off than me? Lin Yuan muttered to himself, walked to the dining area, lined up to receive the meal, and prepared to finish before returning to the isolation room to straighten the body. He doesn't actually reject isolation. For his current situation, isolation can also be considered a good thing. I don't know if it's a sequela of time travel. Lin Yuan only inherited the other person's soul and physical body, but his memory was intangible, not even fragmented memories. In this world with extraordinary power, sudden amnesia and personality changes can easily be mistaken for being possessed by a demon, although in a sense, it is not wrong to say that he is possessed. Fortunately, as soon as Lin Yuan crossed the border, he was caught and quarantined. After more than a month of isolation, no matter how much his temperament changed, no one would find it strange. And as for the common sense of this world, I gradually gained some understanding through a few conversations with the staff every day. Lin Yuan was eating while looking up at the distant environment. A square warehouse the size of over a dozen football fields, with the edges enclosed by huge opaque glass, forming a huge semi-circular building that can reach tens of meters high. Moreover, these glasses also have the effect of a virtual display screen, seamlessly connecting while playing scenes of beautiful mountains and rivers outside, giving people a sense of indistinguishability between true and false. Today I bathed in the sea breeze by the seaside, tomorrow I will look up at the sunset at the mountaintop, and the day after tomorrow I will come to the vast grassland to breathe fresh air. If it weren't for the armed guards patrolling the area and the staff wearing white coats, some people might have thought they were on vacation. But even the most beautiful scenery can be tiring to watch for a long time, especially when the remote control is not in one's own hands. Lin Yuan lowered his head to cook. At this point, the periphery of the virtual display screen, a man is standing with his arms around his chest, watching the thousands of people inside the isolation compartment through a virtual display screen. The screen looks stunning from the inside out, but it is completely transparent from the outside in. During this period, almost every day, people were outside to evaluate and analyze the isolation of these people. This man is today's observer. He is in his 30s, wearing a bulletproof vest and camouflage military uniform, with a beard and a square head. Especially on his face, a narrow scar adds a third of his ferocity. The man lowered his head and carefully flipped through the information in his hand, asking the person in charge behind him, "Have you found any clues?" The person in charge replied, "It can be confirmed that the escaped cultivator is not within this square warehouse. Don't be careless. When we were taking action, the spirit detector clearly detected two different spiritual charms, which means that there were at least two cultivators present at the scene. One of the spiritual charms was already facing the cultivator we killed, but the other one could never be traced. Captain Lee, please rest assured that while you are taking action, we have taken immediate action and arrested everyone. We have also isolated them and tested their spiritual pollution levels daily. We have not found any sharp increase. The person in charge hesitated for a moment and lowered his voice, saying, and we have also applied for whispering echoes to release the deaf whispers in the low frequency range throughout the entire isolation area. The man slammed the information shut. Looking back, my face had turned extremely ugly. He said coldly, do you want to cultivate a few more cultivators to increase our business? Captain Lee, don't worry. We have made full preparations, but the fact is that after listening to the whispers of the disabled, no one's pollution value has changed significantly. The person in charge said, however, the pollution levels of 5 people have become extremely active in the next few days. Preliminary suspicion is that they may be innate spiritual beings and have heard some whispers. Currently, we have urgently sent these 5 people to a foreign land for closed observation, but it can be confirmed that they are not cultivators either. So, even if we suddenly launch an attack, the other party still noticed and fled early. The man known as Captain Lee's gaze tightened slightly and he sighed lightly, you're cunning enough. Since we've already tested them with whispers, it seems that our target is really not among these people. We'll do another big test tomorrow and let them go. We need to draw enough manpower to pursue that cultivator. We don't have time to waste here. He had a hint of coldness in his eyes and said firmly, we must not let any cultivator become a fish in the net. After speaking, Captain Lee turned around and walked back, still cursing and his face turning very unpleasant. If that cultivator had not hidden in this isolation warehouse, then he would definitely have been escaping outside. This is the worst outcome. It means he's going to start chasing day and night again, damn it. Since getting this job, his hairstyle has changed from 3 or 7 points to short hair, and then to his current cut. If he continues to fall like this, he will have to shave off completely. He doesn't have a partner yet. Lin Yuan, let's finish dinner here. It's just a brief breeze. As long as all actions ensure that you are within the camera, it is not allowed to escape to blind spots, and everything else is ignored. Strict management gives Lin Yuan the illusion that he is undergoing renovation. But this was a good opportunity for him to briefly move his muscles and bones, and he only had so much hope in a day. After letting go of the wind, return to your own residence. It's called a residence, but in fact, it's not even a house, it's just a completely enclosed small box. Not even a sink for washing hands, except for a bed and a potty. On the other hand, it is necessary to proactively apply for a larger size and have a dedicated person accompany you to the restroom, highlight a thoughtful service. After Lin Yuan returned, he wrote 3 on the paper under his pillow and carefully folded it. There is no day or night here. But it can be confirmed that it is tested once a day. He used this method to record how many days he had been quarantined. Before the 3rd paragraph, there is a series of densely packed numbers. 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, a series of identical words. Very stable. Stable, good. Lin Yuan once witnessed with his own eyes that the pollution level was still at level 6 the day before, but the next day it directly exceeded level 9, jumped to level 1.3, and was forcibly taken away by someone. I don't know where I went, but the pollution value suddenly increased. There is only one possibility. Even if he is not a cultivator, he must have come into contact with the cultivation methods and cannot get rid of them. His fate can also be imagined. That's right. When Lin Yuan learned that the reason they were quarantined here was because there was likely a cultivator hidden among them, he himself looked bewildered. The imagined cultivator, ascending to the heavens and descending to the earth, chasing the moon with clouds, overturning the river and overturning the sea, is omnipotent. Moreover, with a long lifespan, although it cannot live the same life as heaven and earth, it is far superior to ordinary people, and others it can be said that it is almost omnipotent. Did it end up being equated with a plague in this world? And after chatting with others to gather intelligence during this period, he realized that his previous thoughts were not wrong. The cultivators in this world are indeed so powerful that they can be considered as unparalleled and unparalleled. Assuming that if there were no such terrible sequelae. reading www.Xianxia.net, you should know that there are already cultivators in this world. But with more deaths, there will be none. The specific reason is no longer known, only the extremely prosperous cultivation civilization, like the extinction of dinosaurs, was completely destroyed overnight. The good news is that they are all dead. The bad news is not completely dead. Although cultivators may die, those who are more powerful cultivators all possess divine consciousness, which detaches from their physical bodies and integrates into the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Even so, they were unable to escape the disaster. Although they could escape consciousness, most of them were also damaged. These divine senses and spiritual energy merged into one, gradually becoming twisted, crazy, and becoming inhumane remnants. The most instinctive desire of the disabled is to have a body again. Those of the same kind as cultivators are their best possession objects. This is also why the cultivator system has almost become a street mouse to this day. The Xian dynasty even established the MIAFAC to prevent anyone from recklessly contacting the cultivation method and being possessed by these remnants, leading to alienation and becoming a demon. Especially the incomplete consciousness is possessed by consciousness, so many cultivators are often possessed without realizing it, and only gradually change their temperament in the following time, becoming another person. But I just thought I was still myself. This is also the reason why Lin Yuan feels fortunate to be quarantined at this moment. Because there was a cultivator among them. And he suddenly loses memory and forgets everything, and then his temperament changes greatly. Compared to making people believe that he has amnesia, it feels more likely that he has been parasitized by the disabled and completely alienated into a demon. And no one here knows him, instead giving him a chance to get rid of suspicion. Chapter 2. The Joker is myself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When I just traveled to this world and learned about the existence of cultivators. Lin Yuan is actually quite excited. Since I have come to another world, relying on my identity as a traveler, I naturally want to stir up trouble and turn pale, which is not in vain. But when he knew that once he practiced the cultivation techniques of the cultivator, he was easily occupied by those same origin cultivators, and his own consciousness completely dissipated. This immortal. Even dogs don't repair it. Lin Yuan is now looking forward to the release of people from the quarantine zone as soon as possible. I heard that those ignorant people whisper in the spiritual energy all day long, telling the wonders of the cultivation method. Of course, most people cannot hear their whispers. But now that so many people are quarantined together, in case there is any innate spiritual body in between, people with this physique are naturally inclined towards spiritual energy, and they can hear those divine techniques. The cultivation method is actually flawless, it is incredibly divine. But precisely because of its divine beauty. No one who has heard of martial arts can control not practicing. It's like Shen Jibing saw the little dragon girl tapping her acupoints. Can he not know that there will be endless troubles after getting married? From this perspective, isolation seems safe. But is the isolation zone itself also a high-risk area? Lin Yuan would save toilet paper every day and make 2 simple paper balls to block his ears. He was unsure if it would be useful, but it was already the greatest effort he could make. Fortunately, this isolation seems to be difficult to sustain after all, even with thousands of people eating, drinking, and having sex, the authorities cannot resist it. The next day, after routine inspection, the announcement speaker directly announced that everyone should return to their own warehouse, pack their luggage, and wait for the staff to guide them away. Big household chores must wait quietly, do not leave the isolation room without permission, disturb order, and so on. Upon hearing this news, Lin Yuan was pleasantly surprised to see through the narrow window on the door that the staff had begun to dismantle the daily necessities in an orderly manner. Is quarantine over? In fact, the quarantine has indeed ended. Although you can't see outside in the room, you can hear the sound of messy footsteps, as well as the surprised and hurried footsteps when the closed door next door is swiped open. 2 hours later. It's Lin Yuan's turn. The procedures are very neat. First, I went to handle the quarantine compensation procedures. Isolation is compensated, and compensation will be based on the average salary of the Xian dynasty, which is 152 yuan per day. In a month and a half, it will cost 6 to 7,000 yuan. It can be considered a considerable wealth. Especially for Lin Yuan, who knows he has no reliance at all and his parents have both died, this money is even more important. And it wasn't until the money arrived that I was informed he has successfully passed the final test. Originally, the entire process area was filled with sensors that could clearly sense the heartbeat and blood flow rate of people indoors. The instinctive reactions of people who are about to regain their freedom after being quarantined, as well as those who have ghosts in their hearts but successfully hide from the outside world, are naturally different. Without a doubt, Lin Yuan passed the test. It surprised Lin Yuan a little. Is there such a trick? It's cunning enough. However, taking advantage of their importance, Lin Yuan also made a serious request. Can you please give me a few more test strips to test the pollution level? Lin Yuan smiled humbly, paired with his exceptionally fair face and innocent yet foolish eyes, making him look extremely trusting. After waiting back, I can also test myself occasionally to see when it will decrease. It's useless, the pollution value will only increase, not decrease. The staff had a good attitude, but their tone was firm. The reason for the pollution is because you have had contact with the disabled cultivators, whether directly or indirectly, but there is no need to worry too much. Your pollution level has always been stable. As long as you are careful and ensure that your pollution level does not exceed the 9th level, it will basically not affect your normal life. Can you give me a copy of my personal information? Being rejected, Lin Yuan was not surprised, but instead took the opportunity to propose what he truly wanted. He said, I can pay to buy it. There's no other point. My parents are no longer here, and they are in a hurry. They haven't told me a lot of personal information. It's rare for you to help me check so detailed during this quarantine. Keep a copy for me to use when filling out my information in the future, otherwise I wouldn't even know which district I belong to. Okay, if you want it, I'll give you a copy. Afterwards, I'll reprint a copy of your relevant information myself. It won't take much trouble. If it's a test paper, I'll give you two too. It's not very useful, just keep it as a collection to commemorate this period of quarantine. Perhaps because the quarantine has ended, along with the staff who suffered with them, they are particularly articulate. It can be said that Lin Yuan got what he wanted. Accompanied by 2 fully armed, special forces like protective personnel, they walked out of each level of the isolation zone. Outside is a huge playground, filled with vehicles or airships of various grades in order. It should be the relatives of the quarantine personnel who received the message to pick them up. But these have nothing to do with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan carried a large luggage bag and took out his personal information, clearly marking his address at the top. Lin Yuan, number 289 Wenchang Street, Xinli Road, Qinghua City. It's easy to handle with an address. Lin Yuan walked out with his bag on his back. 2 hours later. Following the address, Lin Yuan entered the courtyard of a row of old apartment buildings. The yard is not small in size, but extremely narrow and dirty. From upstairs, the yard was filled with charging cables tangled, like a dense web of spiders. Originally, there were still people in charge, but it is said that someone in the apartment wanted to jump off a building and commit suicide last time. As a result, during the descent, they were wrapped up in these cables and managed to escape. Then those households flew the cables even more confidently. As everyone's quarantine ends. The old neighborhoods are also gradually becoming noisy. Lin Yuan ignored these inmates and climbed up the top 5 floors along the steps. The stairs leading to the roof on the left, along with the opposite door, are all sealed by iron railings, creating a 1-square entrance. The already narrow old building was separated by half and became a private space opposite the door, leaving only enough space for Lin Yuan to knock the door half open. Enter the door. Because it is an old-fashioned building, the living room has no windows, and the balcony is facing outward from the second bedroom. The living room is gloomy, and even during the day, the lights have to be turned on. But the advantage of this old-fashioned building is that there are almost no public stalls, and the area is generally relatively large, with 3 bedrooms and 1 living room, which is much larger than the 140 square meters of a normal building. Unfortunately, the old building is not worth money and cannot be sold at a high price. Lin Yuan curled his lips slightly dissatisfied. Before crossing over, he lived in this kind of old building, but after crossing over, he still lived in this kind of old building. Am I traveling in vain? But compared to being caught as an alienated demon, the current outcome is already considered the best. After throwing away his luggage, he rolled up his sleeves and started cleaning. Reading www.uukangshu.net. The room was placed neatly before. It's just that I haven't been living for over a month, which has caused some floating dust. Just wipe it a little. 1 hour later. After tidying up everything, Lin Yuan was not idle either. He went to the vice bedroom, opened his computer, and searched for background information about the world. Time travel is not his original wish. But life is like rape, resistance is not enough, so we can only enjoy it. Get to know the background of this world as soon as possible. It can also be considered adding some lubricating oil to this process. Lin Yuan didn't believe it. Since there was a cultivation system, and now cultivators are being chased like street mice in a state of embarrassment, so in this world, there must be other powerful cultivation systems. He, Lin Yuan, came to this world once. How can we still be as mediocre as in our past lives? There are also various information about the predecessor, social relationships, and so on. If we could find the diary, that would be even better. Lin Yuan was caught up in flipping through boxes and cabinets. Half an hour later the diary was not found, proving that the original protagonist was a serious person and had no habit of keeping a diary at all. But he discovered something even more terrifying. A thin booklet filled with many information about meditation, cultivation, and returning to life. And there are 4 big characters written at the beginning. Na Yuan Zhenju. A truly authentic cultivation method. Being carefully glued to the bottom of the bed is not a coincidence, even Lin Yuan himself may find it difficult to detect. Lin Yuan held the book with a dull expression on his face. Good guy, after being quarantined for so long, the source is actually me. Chapter 3. If I don't delve deeper, just rub around. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The world of Xianxia is very exciting. After thousands of years of inheriting the civilization of cultivating immortality, the entire process of society has almost completely come to a standstill, staying in the feudal era for thousands of years. Without him, any person who possesses the unparalleled beauty of Tianzong will devote all their energy to cultivation and self-improvement. Who would care about developing social civilization? But with the collapse of the cultivation civilization, soon the entire society entered the industrial period, and in less than 1,000 years, it developed more advanced technology that could be compared to Lin Yuan's previous life, and even more advanced. Perhaps due to the influence of the cultivation civilization that has lasted for thousands of years, the technological society here is still different from in previous lives. All technology systems are people-oriented. It's not surprising, after realizing the existence of supernatural forces in this world. Humans are naturally not content with being ordinary, no longer satisfied with just curling up behind the control panel and controlling everything. They crave more for the power of their essence. Over the years, with the advancement of technology, They intercepted the pure refining part of the immortal path and gradually evolved into a martial arts system with the assistance of technology. It is said that Xiao Yuntian, the strongest martial god on the path of martial arts, now has the strength to compete with the once top cultivators. There is also the reproductive system of exoskeleton armor, which can greatly enhance a person's combat power by replacing certain organs on the body. If it can be combined with military mecha, the explosive killing power can also rival that of cultivators. Anyway, no matter which system, they are all on par with cultivators and show that they can compete with them. Lin Yuan, formerly known as Lin Yuan, was a relatively good student on campus and was in a critical period of preparing for the division of civil and military subjects. If you can smoothly enter the martial arts field, you can systematically learn the reinforcement system of martial arts. At that time, both the White Cave and the White Tomorrow are waiting for him. But now, Lin Yuan has no chance. Because he has become a cultivator, especially the book Na Yuan Zhenju seems to have some unique magic, not even memorized. Just holding the book in the palm of your hand and reading it once, you can feel the seemingly intangible breath flowing in your body. As this aura wandered through his body, he kept shouting and calling for a bunch of messy things to enter his body. It is certain that what comes in is spiritual energy, and there is no doubt that there is spiritual power in the body. So even if I burn this book, it's too late. I'm already its owner. Lin Yuan was a bit confused. Even if his understanding of this world is still in writing, he understands what it means to become a cultivator. His future has only two consequences: either he is contaminated by disability and becomes a demon, and even he himself is unaware of when he was replaced. Because this kind of change is subtle and imperceptible, it naturally cannot be countered. Either they were caught by the people of the extermination department. From just escaping from a cultivator and directly arresting 1,000 people while isolating them, it can be seen that even if he voluntarily confesses and resists leniency and severity, he may at most get a chance for euthanasia, and they may still think it's a bargain for him. Wait, Lin Yuan suddenly sat up straight. He just finished his quarantine. Isolation is to find the hidden cultivator, and the means they use are inevitably aimed at the cultivator. And he was not exposed. This is not something that can be explained by a clear conscience due to ignorance. My power of filth seems to be only 3 stages, and it has always been stable, which means I am not troubled by those disabilities. The power of pollution is a joking term used by Lin Yuan to describe the degree of pollution. It has been over 1,000 years since the downfall of the cultivation civilization, and the spiritual energy of this world has already become extremely rich to an astonishing extent. Similarly, the technology of the Xian dynasty has now developed to the point where it can utilize its vitality to achieve things that only cultivators can achieve. Therefore, the most crucial factor in determining whether a cultivator is an immortal is not the concentration of spiritual energy in their body. Everyone has spiritual energy in their body, which cannot be used as a testing standard. And there's no problem with spiritual energy. But spiritual energy is bound to residual consciousness. If you are practicing martial arts, you will inevitably hear the whispers of the remnants of ancient demons, because all martial arts have been destroyed in an instant. Any remaining martial arts that have been passed down in the world represent that the earliest source of this martial arts must have been the ancient practice of cultivating supernatural demons. And as long as you hear whispers, your spirit will synchronize with them. It is the degree of pollution, and this kind of pollution is irreversible. According to Lin Yuan's speculation. Because his pollution level is the lowest among those hundreds of people, isolating him is probably just a precaution. You can tell from them not even searching his home. If they really search, they can't possibly not find this cultivation method. Lucky luck. In short, the pollution level cannot be reduced and cannot be falsified, making it the most suitable standard for testing whether one is a cultivator. It is normal for Lin Yuan to lose his memory before, not remember the unique path of his cultivation, and not feel the spiritual power he possesses. But not feeling it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There's no reason why he couldn't be traced after so many quarantine tests before even including those ancient remnants for over a month. Lin Yuan has never heard any whispers at all. Do we have to practice martial arts to have whispers ringing in our ears? Lin Yuan landed on the book Na Yuan Zhenju. He remained silent for a long time, and after a long time, as if to persuade himself, he whispered, I now have spiritual power in my body. Unless I can completely destroy these spiritual powers, being discovered will be a dead end. Even if I am not discovered, if there is really a disability whispering in my ear in the future, I will be doomed sooner or later. Since that's the case, I will just rub against it a few times and try it out. If I don't go deep, there should be no problem. Thinking about it, Lin Yuan opened the Na Yuan Zhenju in his hand. The technique is a handwritten manuscript with neat handwriting. But there is no annotation, and the connection between words can be described as extremely obscure, looking stumbling, especially the many professional terms inside, which are completely unheard of. But strangely, just reading this cultivation method, the spiritual power in his body began to operate on its own, highlighting a thought-provoking aspect. It doesn't matter if you understand or not, as long as you read, I'll help you move. Just by running around in the body, one can feel that this spiritual power has significantly increased. And with the operation of the cultivation method, Lin Yuan's consciousness, however, became increasingly blurred, as if he had fallen into another space. A world that is inexplicable and unclear. In a daze, he vaguely felt that there were gazes around him, greedy, drooling, jealous. Although he was the only one in the room, practicing the martial arts made him feel lively. It's a disability. It turns out that it is not the cultivators who can see the residual consciousness, but as long as they operate their martial arts, they can come into contact with these terrifying residual consciousness. And as Lin Yuan gazed into the abyss, it was evident that the abyss was also staring at him intently. Lin Yuan could feel these remnants surrounding him, and even the air was a bit colder than usual. He could even see them opening their mouths and whispering to him, at #UN% at #UN%@. This voice was not ringing in his ear, but directly in the deepest part of his soul, as the waves of true energy entered his body, allowing him to always hear it clearly. Lin Yuan twisted his head in confusion. Ask, what are you talking about? UN%@. %#. Can you speak Mandarin? At #UN%. What the hell are you talking about? UN%. UN%. ##. Can you say something that I understand? %%. UN##. Do you have a personal understanding of what to say? At #UN%UN##. The mute whispers. Yu reads books. www.Xianxia.net, cold to the bone, carrying temptations that no human can resist. But unfortunately, after talking with the same chicken and duck for a long time, Lin Yuan just realized that he couldn't understand. This is not any language he knows, not even the language of this world. After a long time, Lin Yuan slowly finished his work, feeling refreshed. There was no permeability between his limbs, as if he had just taken a sauna, and his whole body was comfortable. Compared to the physical pleasure, the sense of relief from the disaster made him even more excited and inexplicable, causing his body to tremble slightly. Whispering with incomplete understanding, tempting alienation. Transform into a demon and do all evil deeds. This is the main reason why cultivators become street mice. But no matter how powerful a scammer is, how can he deceive others by using only language when he doesn't understand the language? If the threat of disability is completely ignored, the cultivation method of immortality actually has no flaws. Lin Yuan looked at the Na Yuan Zhenju in his hand, his eyes gradually brightened up, and he could even understand why he couldn't understand these ignorant whispers, because this whispering does not come from the ear. Otherwise, the languages of different countries on the Yuan star are very different. Can it be said that practicing the martial arts of other countries will not be contaminated? To put it bluntly, this whispering directly affects the soul, but unfortunately his soul comes from another world. The system is fundamentally incompatible. So, naturally, I can't understand. Great, the only people who will take my life now are all people in the world. Lin Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 4. My cultivation cannot be so magical. You are listening at novel full.audio. This immortal cannot be repaired. At the very least, it cannot be repaired now. After careful consideration and weighing the pros and cons, especially after rummaging through the boxes and cabinets at home, I found a total of 10,000 yuan non-confidential checks. I don't know where it came from, but it must be his asset without a doubt. In this way, there is no need to worry about life in the short term. I can't understand those ignorant whispers, which means besides this, na yuan zhenju, I basically have no chance of obtaining the second cultivation method. As long as I don't obtain new methods, my pollution level won't increase, and the likelihood of exposure is not high. Lin Yuan quickly made up his mind. Being able to obtain a second life after dying is already a great stroke of luck. I can't afford to be surrounded by enemies in the new world. During the quarantine period, he had already seen the attitude of this world towards cultivators. That pursuit truly spared no effort. Moreover, their detection of the cultivator could not have been based solely on pollution levels. There must have been other means, but he had the lowest suspicion at the time, so it was not his turn. At present, his understanding of the world is not comprehensive enough. I can't do it. I really can't do it. The most important thing at the moment is to first understand the intelligence of this world, and then discuss the rest later. Lin Yuan opened his computer and carefully researched some common knowledge materials about the world. Although he did not inherit his original memory, the similarity between this world and his world was extremely high. Lin Yuan inferred that it should be similar to a parallel world, but due to different choices at a certain time point, it developed differently. But there is no significant difference in writing and inheritance, which does not affect his daily use. After watching for several hours, except for some differences in names, analogies can be found in the world of Lin Yuan's past life regarding common knowledge about this world. It quickly became integrated. Seeing the sky darken, Lin Yuan stretched lazily and planned to go out to the supermarket to buy some vegetables to enrich his refrigerator. After being quarantined for over a month, even the longest preserved egg in the refrigerator couldn't leak. I didn't dare to spend money recklessly before. But now, with an additional 100,000 yuan in savings, the biggest survival pressure in my heart has suddenly decreased significantly. Put on your shoes at the entrance. When opening the door, there was a click. The door collided with the iron fence on the opposite side, and a small piece of paint on the anti-theft door was scraped off. The staircase of the old building with 2 households on one floor is already narrow in space. After occupying half of the space on the opposite side, even the door on his side can only be partially opened. Especially this fence looks like it's newly installed. Needless to say, it's because of the death of his former parents, an ordinary young man without support, that he has made progress. This is no different from eating people and going bankrupt. Lin Yuan's heart instantly ignited inexplicably. He didn't know how his predecessor reacted, but now it's riding on his head. Like venting, a punch hit the fence. The warm spiritual power within the body surged with a creaking sound that made one's teeth ache. The fence has been directly bent by Lin Yuan for a large piece completely recessed inside. Lin Yuan was suddenly shocked. This fence is welded and spliced with steel pipes, with a hollow center inside, which is not too sturdy. However, because it is connected to each other, it has excellent elasticity. Generally, even if a strong man puts all his effort into kicking it, it is difficult to achieve this effect, and this piercing noise quickly alarmed the other door. The sound of clattering footsteps rang out. The opposite door opens directly. A middle-aged man in his 30s poked his head out of it. He is thin and small in stature, with a pointed mouth and pursed cheeks. Judging from his appearance, he knows he is not a good match. He frowned and said angrily, "What are you doing?" Since he dares to do so, he is clearly prepared to argue with Lin Yuan. You should know that the police don't care about family matters. As long as you deal with this kid, the entire rooftop and 1 square meter of space at the entrance will be his. In the future, if you slowly build a simple house on the rooftop, won't you earn a house in vain? Halfway through the provocative words, I saw the depression that had been bent by Lin Yuan, and the ending of a strange and sinister sentence suddenly changed. The look in Lin Yuan's eyes was full of fear. It's nothing, the quality of your railing is not good. I just helped to change shoes and it bent like this. Lin Yuan chuckled twice without a smile, lightly patted the railing, and said, "Change it, otherwise it's so crispy. What if it breaks that day and pricks you?" The middle-aged man angrily said, "Don't act recklessly. I warn you that hitting someone is illegal. Then you call the police." Lin Yuan glanced at the pile of shoe racks, took a visual inspection, and pulled out a black leather shoe that looked the most expensive from inside along the broken dent. He reminded, "By the way, this fence should be repaired quickly. Otherwise, what if someone steals your shoes from this hole? It's okay to steal 1 pair, but if you only steal 1, it would be very frustrating." "Right." Speaking, he walked downstairs with this shoe in hand. The man watched Lin Yuan go downstairs and exclaimed in surprise, "What are you doing with my shoes?" "It's nothing, I found a shoe in the stairwell, and I don't know whose it belongs to. There's only one that I can't wear, so I have to throw it in the trash can. Evil people still need to be sharpened. To deal with such people, one must be even more rogue than him." Lin Yuan tugged at the corners of his mouth with a provocative expression and went downstairs with his shoes in hand. The man still wanted to chase after him, but looking at the dent on the fence, especially Lin Yuan's look of finding fault, he didn't dare to say anything more. "All are isolated. Why haven't you seen this kid for over a month? Suddenly, his strength has grown so strong. Is the young man developing so quickly?" And Lin Yuan originally wanted to throw the shoes into the trash can, but when he walked to the 2nd floor, he heard a verbal argument between the couple inside one of the doors. The man angrily asked who the person was and asked him to come out, and "I killed him." The woman just kept crying, indicating that it was all your fault, and in the end, it was me who made the mistake. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and threw his shoes directly onto the 2nd floor terrace of this family through the ventilation opening in the stairwell. He framed and framed, but he didn't have much intention of gloating. The expression on his face was actually incredibly heavy. "Something's wrong. When I was in quarantine before, I was still fine. How did you read the book www.uukangshu.net and read that martial arts technique? After running it once, I felt like something was wrong with me." He hurried out in his footsteps. "I didn't go to the supermarket to buy groceries again. At present there are more important things to do." 2 hours later. Lin Yuan just returned with a heavy heart on his face. "I didn't realize it during my previous quarantine, or maybe he didn't activate the spiritual power in his body at all. But now, as I flip through the techniques, 100 meters in 8.5 seconds has broken the previous record. I don't know how strong it is, but Lin Yuan tried to punch the wall with his fist, from the initial taste to gradually exerting his strength, and finally directly smashed a shallow pit on the wall. More importantly, he tried more than 10 times and his palm didn't even scratch. The spiritual power spontaneously operated, like a thin film, protecting his fist. The cultivation technique is too magical. But for Lin Yuan now, being too magical is actually a bad thing. Fortunately, they have just finished their quarantine. Otherwise, the other side might have suspected that he might have been replaced internally. Lin Yuan's mind is complex and varied. Even when he returned to his doorstep and found several dents on the railing being fiercely smashed by others, along with some fresh blood on the ground that had not yet dried up, he had no intention of gloating. This constitution in his past life, he had to excitedly pull away. Feel free to break the world record and show it to you. But now this is all troublesome. He is an ordinary person, once exposed, his death is light, and he is afraid that his ashes will be thrown away after death. Chapter 5. I only feel sorry for my sister. You are listening at novel full.audio. In the next few days. In order to avoid suspicion as much as possible. Lin Yuan doesn't go out much anymore. Even if it's buying essential daily necessities, it's best to go out late at night when there are few people, buy a bunch of instant noodles, eggs, and vegetables. Coincidentally, in my past life, I was tired of braised spicy chicken and mushrooms. The new flavors from another world are also good to taste. As for daily garbage cleaning, it is also very convenient, just throw it into the area surrounded by neighbors across the street. How to deal with the tyranny of evil neighbors. It's very simple, just be more domineering than him. The man was clearly scared out of his wits, but he didn't dare to come to his door. But his wife relentlessly smashed on Lin Yuan's door, hoping to cause trouble for him. Lin Yuan walked out of the door with a kitchen knife in hand. At that time, he was still holding his phone and making a phone call to the public security department, seemingly discussing household registration issues, and he was a bit impatient. The one with a red face and thick neck is so angry. I'm sorry, I don't have a guardian anymore, so I have to handle all the procedures myself. Yes, I said I'm not an adult yet, I don't have to take responsibility. What's the matter with this sister? The last sentence was spoken to that young woman. The young woman across from her blinked her eyes and immediately politely expressed that her husband was not sensible and had done such a wicked thing. She came to apologize on purpose. And Lin Zhizhu said it's completely okay, he doesn't mind, and then apologetically said that sister is so good. Looking, I scared you with a knife, right? Then he warmly invited her to come in and sit down. Lin Yuan's appearance is not bad. Youth is young, with beautiful eyebrows and eyes, red lips and white teeth, and at an age of vigorous growth. This kind of little milk dog is already extremely restrained against young women. The young woman originally wanted to refuse, but when she saw the handsome face that was extremely restrained towards her, she instinctively agreed. The conversation between the two was naturally very close, and she was even amused by Lin Yuan's continuous laughter. In the following days, Lin Yuan didn't go to find fault anymore. Instead, he knocked on the door across from him every day without moving, indicating that he wanted to chat with his sister. And soon, the other side started arguing. Lin Yuan is not involved either. He only occasionally sees the young woman across the street and feels embarrassed to say that it's all my fault, causing you guys to argue. Big brother really doesn't even know how to make things worse for you, unlike me. I just feel sorry for you. Then the noise from across the street became increasingly fierce. It lasted for about 6 or 7 days. After a heated argument erupted across the street, they moved away directly. On the second day after moving out, an old man who was collecting rags came to dismantle the fence. It can also be considered a silent softening. For Lin Yuan, this is just a small episode. What he has been mainly doing these days is investigating some extremely important information. Perhaps due to the revival of spiritual energy, but no one has practiced techniques to absorb it. Over 1,000 years the spiritual energy of this world has long been filled to an extremely astonishing level. In this way, the bad result is that the residual consciousness coexisting with spiritual energy becomes more active. 500 years ago, the destruction department was just a force operating in the dark, but now it has had to step onto the surface and requires the assistance of all military departments to barely deal with the increasing number of cultivators. For Lin Yuan, who already has spiritual power in his body, after reading the Na Yuan Zhenju, it is equivalent to opening up a channel. He has been infused with spiritual energy into his body. Therefore, even if Lin Yuan voluntarily refuses to cultivate, but after he falls asleep, the true element in his body will still absorb spiritual energy according to the established route, highlighting a feeling that you don't need to move, just lie down and enjoy peacefully. In just a few days, his physique has taken another step up compared to before. After others travel, they are all worried that their physical condition is too weak to keep up with the pace of others only on his side. He is worried that his physical condition is too strong and he may accidentally reveal his true nature. Once he is suspected by the destroyer, even if his filthy power is only 3 levels, what will happen? They don't have no other means. He may not be able to escape with just a lie detector. Fortunately, in the past few days, Lin Yuan has really found a solution. Over the years, technology has developed rapidly, and many things that used to be only achievable by cultivators can now be achieved through technology, and even more outstanding. But humans are already creatures that seek to conquer the world, and since they know that there are extraordinary laws in this world, they cannot rest assured. The immortal path can no longer be touched, but it does not prevent them from utilizing the basic knowledge of the immortal path to develop some alternative paths. For example, the most basic method of refining the body in the immortal realm has been preserved because it does not involve any mnemonic techniques. After hundreds of years of development, it has now become a martial arts discipline. Although it is only the most basic derivative, practicing martial arts to the extreme can also possess the power of breaking mountains and stones. In the video searched by Lin Yuan, those warriors often jump several meters high, and the single-person hugged log is directly cut off with a punch. He is much stronger than his current physique. It can be considered the most perfect replacement. So, as long as I can become a warrior, then I can confidently explain to anyone. Although I am as light as a swallow, with amazing recovery ability, and my skin is crystal clear, I have the ability to stand on my face, and even in the future, I may be able to fly to heaven and escape from all directions, but that is the credit of martial arts and has nothing to do with cultivating immortals. Lin Yuan has been thinking about it, but it seems that this method is the only one left. Just a few days of data review. He discovered some bad news with some sadness. That's because the relationship between martial arts and their predecessors is really too far. This world is divided into humanities and martial arts, and its predecessor was in the most critical year of humanities and martial arts, but he didn't find even a single book on martial arts at home. And I searched online. What are 3-year warrior, 5-year elite, on the 13 shortcuts to becoming a warrior, how warriors practice, and so on. The price is expensive, and just looking at the title feels unreliable. The most important thing is the lack of basic knowledge about martial arts, and there is no information available online at all. This scammer doesn't have any intention of becoming a warrior at all. Lin Yuan let out a long sigh and lay in a wooden shape on the bed. For a moment, even Yu couldn't think much of reading at www.Xianxia.net. I can't make a decisive decision to go out and find a martial arts school. Let's see if we can spend more money to enroll in a basic class. With the 100,000 yuan inheritance left by his parents, Lin Yuan's confidence has also increased significantly. And this is not only to fulfill one's dream of becoming a strong person, but also to ensure one's own safety. No matter how expensive it is, one should not worry about money. Early the next morning. The sky has just brightened up. Lin Yuan got up before 5 o'clock. After rinsing. First, I did 100 push-ups in one breath. Then there are 100 sit-ups and 100 squats. Go to the previous clothes rack again. No, run 10 kilometers on the treadmill. His current state is very strange, just an ordinary person's body, even without any traces of exercise, but when the spiritual energy flows through his body, it can endow him with superhuman physique. So at the very least, you need to make your body stronger and show some signs of exercise. After finishing your busy work, take a shower. Refreshing and refreshing. The gradual strengthening of spiritual power has given Lin Yuan extremely abundant energy, and only 3 or 4 hours of sleep per day is enough to maintain a full day of vitality. This also gives him more time to interact with this world. At 8 o'clock, Lin Yuan only entered the kitchen and cooked himself 2 bags of instant noodles and 4 eggs. The noodles have just been served, but I haven't had a chance to indulge in them. Outside the door, a crisp doorbell rang. Lin Yuan, who lifted his chopsticks, was momentarily stunned. Someone knocking on the door. Even though he has a family background that qualifies him to enter an orphanage, how could someone still come looking for him? Chapter 6. I am just a 140-pound child. You are listening at novel full.audio. Who is it? Lin Yuan's snoring stopped, and a hint of doubt appeared on his face. The opposite door has already been moved. Of course, this is a wise decision. If that sleazy man really wants to carry it to the end, Lin Yuan really doesn't mind putting a hat on his head. In his past and present life, his rich experience makes it difficult for him to develop any interest in teenage girls. On the contrary, he likes older sisters who are full of charm. As for being sarcastic or something, he doesn't marry her. No need to focus on the inner world. The exchange between the two sides was just physical, without any emotional involvement, and he had no psychological burden. And the predecessor should have no relatives. Lin Yuan found an agreement at home. It seems that it is a voluntary sale of some business shares for transfer, and the source of 100,000 cash is also very clear. It is indeed an inheritance, but it is not the kind of inheritance he thought, but rather the soup left for him after he went bankrupt. After Lin Yuan lost his utility value, these people were naturally even less likely to knock on his door. I ate the remaining instant noodles clean in a few bites. Lin Yuan stood up. Open the door. Standing outside the door was a gentle and graceful young woman in her 30s, with a beautiful and unparalleled appearance. She was wearing a pink suit and narrow skirt, and her delicate legs were wrapped in reflective flesh-colored stockings, looking exquisitely curvy and graceful. Unlike the naive and inexperienced girls, this mature and charming young woman also possesses the innocence of a young girl. Perfectly matching the appearance of 2 women that Lin Yuan likes: a young woman like a young girl, and a young girl like a young woman. At this moment, she was a bit panting. Going up to the 6th floor in one breath is a significant challenge for her 7 centimeters high heels. Seeing the door open, she took a few breaths and calmed down before smiling and saying, "I'm here to find you, Lin Yuan." Sure enough, he is someone he knew from his predecessor. Please come in. Lin Yuan's heart twitched, and he smiled and said a word without revealing his identity, making way for the hallway. The woman stepped in. Entering the living room, my gaze was immediately drawn to the various brands of instant noodles in the trash can. The delicate eyebrows have already furrowed. Instinctively wanting to preach something, but recalling the current state of the student in front of me, if you blame me, I can't say it anymore. In fact, even after Lin Yuan's quarantine ended, she should have contacted him on her end. But due to concerns that Lin Yuan had just lost both parents and was quarantined for over a month, and had already experienced such a big change at a young age, I planned to give him a few days of buffer time to rest well. Unexpectedly, there was no sound during this break. She said sternly, "Lin Yuan, you should know my purpose, right? Classmate. Is she a teacher?" Lin Yuan's mind immediately conjured up the signatures of his teachers on many of his subject assignments. Then the identity of the newcomer was quickly determined. Class teacher and Chinese teacher Lu Mengruo. Although Lin Yuan had several teachers, he never believed that his math teacher Zhao Jiangang could look like this. "I'm not quite sure, teacher, please have some tea." Lin Yuan politely poured a glass of plain water and sat opposite her. Lu Mengruo took the tea and didn't drink it. Instead, he held it in his palms and said, "I originally wanted to call you, but I was a bit worried about your situation, so I came over early. From the end of quarantine to now, you haven't been to school for a whole half-month. It was impossible for you to go to quarantine before, but if you don't go now, are you facing any difficulties in life?" Lin Yuan let out a cry and then realized it. Did the other party come to visit the house specifically because they didn't go to school? Lu Mengruo whispered, "Lin Yuan, I know this short time is not enough to help you overcome the pain of losing your parents, but people need to look forward. They are no longer here, and you should take good care of yourself. As long as you can achieve a good ranking in the upcoming Longmen exam, the teacher can promise to help you apply for a scholarship and an interest-free loan, which can help you smoothly complete your studies, find a good job to take care of yourself, so that your parents' spirits in heaven can be comforted. But the premise is that you have a good grade, otherwise, the teacher will want to help you, and there is no way. In just a few words, the concern was expressed beyond words. Especially during this time period, it should be the time for students to read early. She must have rushed here while she was at work, paired with her sincere words, her flesh-colored stockings with a captivating luster, and her beautiful face. Lin Yuan suddenly understood that this is a good teacher. He hesitated in his heart. During this period, he has been staying at home and not going out, partly because he is worried about his abilities being exposed, and secondly, because he has not inherited the memories of his predecessor. Especially in places like schools, who knows who their former close friends were, who their girlfriends were, and who their buddies were. Maybe if one sentence is not right, it will be exposed. In this situation, how high is intelligence needed to avoid arousing suspicion from everyone? But the teacher in front of me is truly concerned about the students. Perhaps one can use a kind teacher's sympathy for students to achieve their own hidden goals. Even if it fails, the worst-case scenario is better than being exposed directly to everyone. Thinking about it, Lin Yuan's previously normal expression on his face slowly became panicked, as if a person about to drown in the water saw the last floating tree and asked, "Teacher Lu? Are you Teacher Lu?" Lu Mengrua puzzled and said, "It's me. What's wrong? Is there any problem?" Lin Yuan apologetically said, "Hug. I'm sorry, I can't quite remember what happened before." Lu Mengru was taken aback by the words and asked, "What?" I don't know what exactly happened." Lin Yuan sat on the sofa, covering his head in pain, and said, "I remember being helped down from a chair during quarantine. I can't remember much about the past. I only remember when they said they would rather kill the cultivator than let him go, so I dare not tell anyone. Even the house number I came back from was only found after consulting my own information. So, Teacher Lu, it's not that I dare not go to school, but that I'm afraid I might be misunderstood." Lu Mengrua's face has turned extremely ugly. The hands holding the teacup tightly clenched and angrily said, "They actually used torture on you. To a child. Damn it, I knew that people like the Justice Bureau have always been reckless and won't behave properly. But I didn't expect them to go so far. Don't worry, Lin Yuan. I will handle it fairly for you, and I will definitely file a complaint against them." "No, don't." Lin Yuan grabbed Lu Mengrua's hand with a face full of fear and said loudly, "Never, I don't even remember what happened. They may not have tortured me, and I don't have any scars on my body. I was quarantined for a month and even gained 5 pounds. And if Teacher Lu really helps me handle justice, I'm afraid they will take me away as a demon." Sigh. Lu Mengrua held on to Lin Yuan with heartache and said, "Poor child, are you just suffering this injustice so badly?" At this point, she was stunned for a moment and asked, "Didn't you say you don't remember everything? Then how do you still remember my surname Lu?" Lin Yuan remained calm and his heart skipped a beat, saying, "I don't know either. Perhaps it's because Teacher Lu, you are different from others in my mind. So when I saw you, my heart instinctively came up with your name." Upon hearing these words, Lu Mengrua's face instinctively showed a strange and complex expression. Quietly withdrew his hand. "So you're afraid to go to school because you don't want people to know that you're tortured and don't remember anything." Lin Yuan added, "No torture, at least I don't remember any torture." Sigh. Lu Mengrua knew that Lin Yuan was afraid of being retaliated by them. Looking at his eyes, she felt even more heartbroken and said, "Anyway, you don't want people to know that you have amnesia, do you?" Lin Yuan nodded. "You did the right thing, not going to school was right. Although you are innocent, it's hard to guarantee that others won't think recklessly. She hesitated a bit in her eyes, as if she had made a decision, and said, all right, don't go to school for the next few days. I'll help you figure out a way about school, just wait for my message. Thank you, Teacher Lu. Lin Yuan breathed a sigh of relief and thought to himself, I didn't tell a single lie. Even if you turn around and report me, I have a reason to argue with you. Chapter 7. Patch updated. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. It has been proven that Lu Mengrua did indeed take Lin Yuan's matter to heart. She left in the morning and returned after 6 p.m. that afternoon. I brought back several group photos. There are group photos among teachers, as well as graduation photos of students of different ages. Lin Yuan is now very clever and can see at a glance that he is one of them. It's okay if you can't remember. The relationships in school are originally limited to the campus, and they never understand what the real you are like, so you just need to remember what they think of you as well as the relationship between you and them. Speaking, Lu Mengrua introduced Lin Yuan in great detail, starting from the principal, to the teaching director, and to the teachers of each subject. Lin Yuan took it very seriously. Lu Mengrua's words are very reasonable, as long as he can remember the names of each student and their approximate relationships with each other. At that time, he can appear openly on campus without worrying about being seen through. And also relying on Lu Mengrua, Lin Yuan understood his treatment in the 7th class of the 3rd year of high school. Although he was not a laggard, he was far from being top-notch, and in all aspects, he was mediocre, so he was also the least outstanding one. This is a good thing. Moderation means not being outstanding and being transparent. Perhaps most people in the class only have the impression of him as a student with average studies but particularly good-looking appearance. And when it comes to one of the girls who has slightly curly hair, wears round-framed glasses, and looks exceptionally sweet. Lu Mengrua hesitated and said, be careful of this Lu Ziyu. Why? Lin Yuan looked at the photo and asked, am I her boyfriend? So she knows me better than anyone else. School does not allow early love. Lu Mengrua took a photo and tapped it on Lin Yuan's forehead, with a strange expression on her face. She said vaguely, and your relationship is more complicated than that. The two of you seem to get along very well and look like a couple, but she once handed me a love letter for you, so I can't figure out what your relationship really is. Lin Yuan blinked and said in confusion, what? Unexpectedly, her predecessor was also a good wife. At such a young age, one should not be so good at learning. Lin Yuan apologetically said, sorry, Teacher Lu, I don't remember. It's okay, who hasn't been in their youth yet? It's understandable that love has just begun, just don't let it lead you down the wrong path. Lu Mengrua smiled slightly and stood up, saying, I have handed you the photos. If you have anything you don't understand, remember to call me and ask. Don't feel embarrassed. As a teacher, helping students solve their troubles is also within your responsibility. Yes, thank you very much, teacher. Would you like to stay and have a meal? No need, I still have to go back and grade my homework. Lu Mengrua said, I'll come see you again in a few days. Remember to wait until you've memorized everything before going to school, you know. Yes. Is there anything else I don't understand? This. Has it? Lin Yuan asked, Teacher Lu, could you please help me find a set of martial arts textbooks? Martial arts. Lu Mengrua was taken aback by the words and said, but I remember your goal has always been Yunda. You said that Yunda's direct subordinate unit is the History Management Department, with fewer tasks and more leisure, which is the job position you dream of going to. Why did you suddenly want to practice martial arts? And there is still more than half a year left for the martial arts exam. Is it too late to transfer now? Lin Yuan understood what Lu Mengrua meant. Unlike in previous lives, this world is divided into two subjects. Civil and military. Although there is also a 9-year compulsory education, civil and military subjects are divided after the 9-year education is over. After all, whether it is a warrior or a civil servant, it is not something that illiterate people can play with. These 9 years have been completely used to lay the foundation. Then, according to their intentions and choices, they fill out the files and enter the military academy for the martial arts department, the civil service college of the military ministry for the arts department, or directly affiliated colleges of various institutions. And those with even worse grades are directed towards training schools for professional skills. Due to the rapid development of the entire society, no one is allowed to waste time. Make the most of what you have. After 9 years of basic education, you need to start targeted and systematic learning, and then step into the workplace early. As Lin Yuan said, he is following the path of humanities. Except for public courses, students majoring in liberal arts and martial arts may not even have the same courses at other times. He had been taking courses in humanities before, but suddenly showed an interest in martial arts. Lin Yuan's expression was full of vicissitudes, as if he had experienced endless suffering. He replied bitterly, "Because learning literature cannot save oneself." In fact, if humanities could join a military academy and become a mecha division. Speaking of which, Lu Mengrua stopped on her own. The most powerful mech technicians are mostly colonizers, and the money-burning system of colonization is not something that a person who has lost both parents and may not even be able to afford tuition fees can afford. Are you sure? Lin Yuan, you need to understand that although your grades are only average, it is precisely because you are average that you can make great progress in half a year of intensive learning. If you are lucky, you may not be able to further pursue a good future for yourself. This is also why I mentioned earlier that I can apply for student aid bonuses and loans for you. However, if you choose martial arts, knowledge may be available for tutoring, but the foundation you lack is not so easy to make up for. Lin Yuan said solemnly, "So I plan to enroll in a martial arts class for tutoring. I just want to practice martial arts and have the ability to protect myself. Even if I don't get into the Big Four, I don't mind." Well. Okay, let me borrow a martial arts textbook for you. Lu Mengru nodded in agreement. I just left the door. Due to the high heels, she took extremely careful steps down the stairs. Along the way, she didn't forget to keep her heels closed and watched as Lin Yuan waved goodbye. Until we reached the first floor. Lu Mengrua reached into the small Chanel-style bag on her shoulder and pulled out a sensor from inside. Normal test strips are used to detect fresh blood, and the value of sensors that can sense pollution values just by getting close is naturally particularly high, which is enough to cost her a week's salary and performance. But look at the dirty power of the 3 paragraphs above. Lu Mengrua breathed a sigh of relief and a relaxed expression appeared on her face. She is not foolish, so she did not believe Lin Yuan's one-sided words, but without evidence, she cannot directly report students who trust her. With this data that she secretly tested herself, coupled with his recent quarantine status. So it seems that what he said is true. That's really great. Lu Mengrua threw the sensor into the trash can, and her pace was much faster than before. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. In this way, she can also wholeheartedly help Lin Yuan. Early the next morning, Lu Mengrua came over again and sent Lin Yuan a complete set of basic martial arts textbooks. Dozens of books. Fortunately, in the past few days, Lin Yuan's spiritual power in the Na Yuan Zhenju has improved again, possibly because there have been no cultivators appearing for over 1,000 years. The spiritual energy in this world has reached an astonishing level. As the only cultivator, even if Lin Yuan doesn't practice, he will be forcibly fed with these spiritual energies. My physical condition has improved significantly, and my memory has also improved significantly compared to before. He carefully started flipping through from the beginning. These textbooks are all old books that have been used by people, with some extremely important annotations written in them, and they are very detailed from shallow to deep. In just over 4 hours, Lin Yuan roughly scanned it once. A relaxed expression appeared on his face and he murmured, it's okay. Although it's a 9-year compulsory education, my body hasn't grown in the first few years, and I'm just laying a foundation. And before I officially promoted to a martial arts academy, I had to focus more on polishing my muscles and bones. The gap is not as big as I imagined. I had some reservations before, but after reading these textbooks, Lin Yuan felt relieved. His physique is indeed very strong, but in fact, compared to the orthodox warriors described in the book, he seems to have no advantage. After all, he currently only has one set of martial arts techniques, without any imperial techniques. On the contrary, the strength of those warriors is honed bit by himself, and they are more like arm-driven when controlled. As long as you join the martial arts school smoothly and practice for a few more days, then it will make sense to anyone. Chapter 8. Who gave me the courage to come here? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The in-depth communication with Lu Mengrua has brought great benefits to Lin Yuan. At the very least, the problem of amnesia has been completely solved. Even if you don't remember the past, as long as you can recognize someone, there is no problem. How can the relationships between classmates in school be so complex? Even if suddenly estranged, it's not surprising. The biggest benefit, on the contrary, is the detailed explanation of the pile of martial arts basic textbooks. With these things, Lin Yuan's basic knowledge of martial arts is no longer like that of an outsider, only knowing its name without actually knowing it. He can openly try to learn martial arts. Therefore, after reading all the detailed explanations of the basic martial arts textbooks, the next day Lin Yuan did not rush to school, but planned to go to the martial arts training center first. During this period, he also searched for many news about martial arts schools online. It is not uncommon for someone like him to practice literature in the early stages and then switch to martial arts in the later stages. Why is there no separation between civil and military education in 9-year compulsory education? It's because whether the intention is from literature or martial arts, both need to be combined in the beginning. Many families, due to economic reasons, have had to focus on humanities from the beginning. But it's normal for someone to suddenly start a family midway and want to give their son a better education. This is an important message that Lin Yuan specifically confirmed with Lu Mengrua so early that morning. Lin Yuan left the door. The technology in this world is much more advanced than in previous lives. Not only do vehicles come and go on the ground, but also the flow of traffic keeps flowing. In the sky, in the gaps between the towering buildings, there were also airships shuttling through in an extremely orderly manner. Although not as many as ants, they were also constantly flowing. In addition, the virtual 4D imaging devices flickering with dynamic images in the high altitude are playing many news or broadcasts, give people a feeling of coming into the future society. The Wudao Training Center is located in the center of Qinghua City. In this precious land area, a building with over 50 floors has been directly built, and each floor covers an area of over 3,000 square meters. Almost all activities related to warriors will take place here. And in fact, after Lin Yuan entered the training center with his pre-prepared student ID card, it feels like something is different in an instant. If we ignore the airships that rise and fall in the sky outside, it is roughly no different from the cities of our past lives. So when you enter the training center and are surrounded by warriors, it feels like you have entered an extraordinary world. Although he had no foundation, Lin Yuan was able to rely on his spiritual power and keenly perceive the explosive power contained within the bodies of every warrior who came towards him. The more solid the muscles in their hands, legs, head, elbow, knee, etc., the more spiritual energy they can pull. It should be the position where their body has the strongest explosive power. Is this the perception of a cultivator? Lin Yuan was pleasantly surprised. The martial arts of the Heart Road originated from the Immortal Road, so if he encounters enemies who practice martial arts in the future, he can take advantage of his strong defense and weakness. And when he arrived at the second floor exclusive to the reserve soldiers, I saw fewer warriors, most of whom were students like him. I should be here for training after all. what is taught in the school is the foundation of the foundation. To smoothly pass the Longmen exam and achieve good results, training in martial arts schools and the like is only an initial investment. Poor literature and rich martial arts have been like this since ancient times. Not long after Lin Yuan came in, a waiter with a somewhat sweet appearance greeted him. Her gaze was quite sharp, probably noticing the way Lin Yuan looked around and smiled, asking, "Hello, sir. May I ask your surname?" "Free of charge, surname Lin." "Mr. Lin, is this your first time coming to the training center?" Lin Yuan nodded. "Are you a student?" Lin Yuan nodded again. The smile on the waiter's face immediately turned sweet. She smiled and asked, "Do you want to find a suitable martial arts school for tutoring?" "That's right. May I ask if you have any requirements?" Lin Yuan thought for a moment and said, "The lower the tuition fee, the better. The fewer classmates, the better. The stronger the mentor, the better. The longer the martial arts school has existed, the better." The smile on the waiter's face paused and had become extremely forced. "That. Sir, you're really good at joking. How about I take you to visit various martial arts schools?" "Sure." Lin Yuan nodded. "Sir, please follow me." The waiter has already regretted it a bit. He encountered a difficult host and shouldn't have taken the initiative to greet him just because of his handsome appearance. My heart was filled with resentment, and my face still had a sweet smile. She conscientiously fulfilled her job and took Lin Yuan to browse through several martial arts schools on this floor one by one. Introduction. Each martial arts school has its own strengths. Mr. Lin, you can choose according to your own strengths. For example, this Lifeone martial arts school is an old brand martial arts school. It has been more than 40 years since its establishment, and now it has opened more than 100 branches, with good business. There is also this Red Fire martial arts school, although it doesn't have so many branches, fortunately it has the head of the main school sitting there. The head of the school, Chen Guohan, is a master at the martial arts level who has already cultivated true qi. Moreover, at the beginning, it is a time when backbone is needed. If the students perform outstandingly, they are likely to be recruited as disciples by the school head, and the benefits will not be what money can buy. Martial artists refine their bodies, elite martial artists refine their strength, and when they reach a martial artist, they refine their qi. This level can already be called a master. Although it is only a branch of the immortal path, the development of martial arts has already formed its own system for so many years. And this waitress is responsible for receiving new martial artists here every day. The advantages of each martial arts school are well known. The martial arts skills of this martial arts school are unique and powerful. The mentors of that martial arts school are experienced in laying a foundation, and their fees are relatively cheap and the mentors are dedicated, etc. But Lin Yuan only believed half of her words after all. She only mentions her strengths and doesn't mention her weaknesses at all. Lin Yuan also has his own way of judgment. Following her footsteps, her gaze couldn't help but gaze at the martial arts mentors who were teaching or training. The spiritual power in his body can resonate with the external spiritual energy, and these mentors, as their strength grows, will also experience appropriate stagnation when the ubiquitous spiritual energy in the world passes by them. This is also the main source of his perception. Then he realized that the waiter's words were not entirely deceitful. At the very least, it is possible to open a martial arts school in the training center directly managed by the Xianxia official. None of these martial arts schools are just slacking off, and it can be said that each has its own strengths. Just, are tuition fees so expensive? After visiting and even observing the scenes of some students' training, Lin Yuan was certain that none of these martial arts schools were actually a problem. Choosing which one to use is not a big problem. Furthermore, he intends to start from the basics and does not require particularly high-level guidance from a mentor. But when he saw the quotation sheet, his face showed a surprised expression, and he suddenly understood why his predecessor had not learned martial arts, just the most basic learning. A course of 60 hours per year costs 130,000 yuan. This is still the cheapest. Like the highest priced Lifeng martial arts school, it directly came to a high price of 200,000 yuan, and only received 50 lessons a year. Lin Yuan used to think he was very wealthy with a net worth of 100,000 yuan, but now he realizes that he has so much courage to come to this training center. The waiter seemed to have seen this scene many times and didn't pay much attention. Instead, he explained with a smile, to become a martial artist, you must refine your body. Essentially, refining your body is a process of destroying and restructuring your original body. Normally, after a class, you may not be able to repair your body damage for a month. Therefore, although this tuition fee is expensive, it includes their exclusive medicinal bath and nutritional repair agent to ensure that you won't leave any hidden wounds when forging your body. Although it may cost a lot of money, this money will become the foundation for you to climb higher on the path of becoming a martial artist in the future. This time, Lin Yuan was speechless. He also knows that nutritional restoration agents are body restoration agents that only legitimate organizations and units are qualified to purchase. The price of one on the market has reached over 1,000 yuan. And most people still can't buy it. If they are really willing to use nutritional supplements for the college students, then add medicinal baths. That price is indeed very affordable. Chapter 9. Pizzas Falling from the Sky. You are listening at novel full.audio. There was a moment of silence. Lin Yuan asked, "Can I exclude the costs of medicinal baths and nutritional supplements and only learn martial arts?" "I'm afraid this won't work." The waiter explained, because without medication, most people can't bear the high-intensity training at all. Think about how a 2-hour class would charge you thousands of yuan. If you can't have a fulfilling experience and gain, you probably won't be willing to do it yourself, right? In other words, go to hell. Lin Yuan said, "I can sign an agreement." He currently only has one set of martial arts techniques and no channels to exercise spiritual power, but only his spontaneous operation can sense its many magical aspects. Especially in terms of protecting the body. Lin Yuan felt that he should not need any medication. Even if you are willing to sign an agreement, in case you are really injured, even if you do not hold the martial arts school responsible, this matter will definitely be taken advantage of by those with intentions, which is very detrimental to the reputation of the martial arts school. The waiter smiled and said, "Even you personally think this price range is actually very cost-effective, right? So, martial arts schools that can be opened here basically don't have to worry about the source of students. They don't have to leave hidden dangers for their martial arts schools for some small profit for them." The Lin Yuan sank again. "That makes perfect sense," he said straightforwardly, "but I don't have enough money." This. The waiter's face turned pale. "Then there's no need to buy a year-round class. Isn't buying a 6-month class the same?" Suddenly, a voice entered. A middle-aged man dressed in a suit, but much older than a young girl, welcomed him. Compared to the beautiful and charming waitress, this person already has a considerable belly, and her sideburns have migrated upwards. However, she still stubbornly wears a 37% hairstyle and doesn't look like a salesperson. He waved his hand and said, "Xiao Li, you go and receive a new guest. This guest has been handed over to me." "Yes, supervisor." The waitress responded and turned around to leave. "Hello, my name is Xianxia and I am the supervisor of the training center on this floor. You can call me Director Zhao." He extended his hand to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan nodded and said, "Hello. Does this martial arts school have 6 months of classes?" Zhao Sanyuan smiled and said, "Normally, of course not." Seeing Lin Yuan's face expressionless, he hurriedly said, "But we still have abnormal situations. For example, what? Have you considered purchasing second-hand martial arts training courses?" Lin Yuan frowned and said, "Second-hand? Don't worry, there is absolutely no problem with the source. There are legitimate channels, and you can verify with the staff in the martial arts school, who absolutely acknowledge it. Zhao Sanyuan explained, in fact, the high fees charged by martial arts schools are actually very humane. For example, if you have been studying and making progress in a certain martial arts school, but when you are officially admitted to a higher martial arts school, the existence of the martial arts school is dispensable. What about the remaining classes? Dropping classes is naturally impossible, and the martial arts school will not have any conflicts with students who are destined to become martial artists in the future because of this money. He allows these people to sell their classes. He smiled and said, and if what I expected is not bad, Mr. Lin, your previous goal should not have been in martial arts, but in humanities. It's just that you've suddenly decided to switch to martial arts recently, which is why you're planning to come to the martial arts school for enhancement, right? Lin Yuan nodded. That's even more right. There are still 6 months left. To be more precise, there are 8 months left before you take the Longmen exam, and it will take at least 1 year to complete the 60 class hours. When you get into your desired university after 8 months, what should you do with the remaining class hours? So why not just buy half a year of class hours directly? Moreover, buying these second-hand class hours not only benefits other students, but also has appropriate price flexibility. So good. Lin Yuan asked, if that's true, wouldn't everyone have gone to enroll in second-hand classes? Who would still buy new ones? Of course, there are also drawbacks. Classes can be changed, but the name cannot be changed. Otherwise, if you change the name once, the martial arts school will have objections. Therefore, during class, the mentor will not call your name, but rather someone else's name, including the counter used, the medicinal bath, etc. But you just need to know that this is you, and the mentor will not care about it. Zhao Sanyuan smiled and said, poor and wealthy, those students who have been studying here for years come from wealthy families. They just want to save a little money and have their names changed. They will definitely not do it, and these second-hand courses are not always available. Mr. Lin, your luck is good. I happen to have a student in my hand who has been officially recommended to the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy, and he still has about 32 classes left. It is suitable for students like you, Mr. Lin, who are not financially well off but have martial arts dreams. Are you interested? Lin Yuan asked, what about the price? In terms of price, there is certainly a discount. This student's Hua Jianqing left a course at the Dragon Subduing Martial Arts School, and the normal course at the school is 2,333 lessons. If you are willing to take it, how about 2,000 yuan per lesson? Zhao Sanyuan is quite impressive, saving 300 yuan per class and getting 10,000 yuan cheaper for over 30 classes. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and said, I have 2 conditions. Zhao Sanyuan's eyes lit up and he said, you speak. Firstly, buying out 60,000 yuan in one go is equivalent to giving me 2 extra classes as a gift. Zhao Sanyuan said, well. I'll listen to the second condition first before making a decision. The second condition is that I request to sign a transfer agreement within that Dragon Subduing Martial Arts School and request to attend classes immediately today. Is there a problem? Zhao Sanyuan chuckled and said, the second condition is very reasonable, after all, you are also afraid of being deceived. You can understand. As Mr. Lin is also a pleasant person, okay, those 2 classes are even a gift. Lin Yuan went through it carefully in his mind again. Ensure that there are indeed no issues. The other party's words are very reasonable. Rich people don't like these cheap 3 melons and 2 dates. But for him, it allowed him to purchase exactly the same class hours, which allowed him to learn systematic martial arts knowledge, and most importantly, he still had tens of thousands of yuan left for living expenses. Half a year it should also be enough. For his confidence in his physique and immortal spiritual power, Lin Yuan believed that within 6 months, he could be transferred to become a qualified immortal warrior. Zhao Sanyuan is indeed quite diligent. First, he took Lin Yuan to the dragon-subduing martial arts school and specifically found a teaching assistant inside to testify for him. Oh. Are you transferring classes? The teaching assistant's name is Fang Zihao, and he is around 23 or 4 years old, with a very capable expression. He glanced at Lin Yuan and said, "No problem, as long as we sign the transfer agreement, we can start classes immediately." Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. After all, such a large martial arts school is here, and the martial arts school should not allow its teaching assistants to deceive people along with them. He nodded and said, "Director Zhao, let's sign the contract now." "No problem. Another thing that needs to be explained in advance is that I will cover the transfer fee of 3,000 yuan for UU reading www.uukiangshu.net, which can be considered as a heartfelt thank you to Mr. Lin. However, in terms of training clothes and cabinet rent, I'll pay for it myself, no problem." I saved 20,000 yuan in one breath. Lin Yuan was naturally quite pleased, even so, after taking over the contract handed over by Zhao Sanyuan. He still carefully reviewed the transfer agreement from beginning to end, especially the largest line of annotations. After the transfer, Party B shall fully inherit all the benefits of Party A without any objection, full inheritance. Ensure that there are no issues with the contract. Lin Yuan signed his name. Then I received a black magnetic card. Sweep at the entrance of the martial arts school. Lin Yuan clearly saw that the number 32 inside had changed to 31. There is indeed no problem with having 30.2 classes in the card. He took out 6 checks and asked, "Do I need to take you to retrieve them?" "No need, the bank is right at the door. I'll go and retrieve it later." Zhao Sanyuan chuckled and said, "Mr. Lin, please stay and attend class. I wish you all the best in your martial arts development." After speaking, he turned around and left. "Come with me, Lin Yuan." Fang Zihao also smiled and said, "It's a basic class, right? Come on, I'll take you through the rental service for training clothes and cabinets." "Thank you, teaching assistant Fang." Thinking of how soon he could come into contact with another side of the world, Lin Yuan couldn't help but feel a burst of blood boiling in his heart. "It's okay, this is what I should do." Fang Zihao also smiled kindly on his side. Chapter 10. There is internal competition everywhere. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The path of martial arts is broad and profound, and the disciples' physical fitness is greatly improved to become martial artists. The martial artists who control the Qi force are called elite martial artists. If they can convert the Qi force into true Qi, they can become martial artists, step by step, and gradually, without any shortcuts. But now, whatever we say about Qi and Qi, true Qi and so on are all empty. You just need to know that before cultivating true Qi, the most important thing for martial artists is strength. And from a towering building to a flat ground, your strength is not about how much you can lift or exert, but whether you can unleash the full potential of your own constitution. It's like a 5-year-old child. If he lifts 10 pounds of milk, I would praise him very much, he's a good seedling. But if he's a 20-year-old and well-trained martial artist, even if he can lift a 300 kilograms weight, I not only won't praise him, but if he's my student, I will also have to punish him heavily because he hasn't fully unleashed his potential. How to unleash one's potential? It's simple. Power starts from the ground, and with a single punch, the force cannot be limited to just the fist, kicking the ground, turning the hips, sending off the shoulders, and spinning the arms. This series of movements is completed in one go, and the transmission of power cannot be separated, gathering all the body's strength in one point. Therefore, when practicing martial arts, one must first practice martial arts, and this skill is your body. The mentor shouted loudly. Spread your legs apart, shoulder width apart. Slowly bend your knees to 90 degrees and say in a high voice, keep your chest straight, head up, waist straight, abdomen in, head straight, shoulders flat, thighs flat, calves vertical, feet flat, knee joints at 90 degrees, maintain stability, regulate your breathing, inhale deeply and release slowly, and keep your pressure down. Lin Yuan listened very attentively. The foundation within this foundation is extremely important to him. You should know that the mentor Lin Nan in front of you is an orthodox registered elite warrior. The strength is indeed extremely strong. And it seems that he specifically taught these most basic knowledge to take care of Lin Yuan, a new student. But he only demonstrated for a few minutes before releasing his horse stance and saying, taking a horse stance doesn't have much effect in just 1 or 2 hours. You pay a few thousand yuan for a class, and if I only took you to take a horse stance, you probably wouldn't want to. So when I go back, I'll practice on my own. Practice as long as you like, and whether you're lazy or not is up to you. However, I'll remind you that after each class, a nutritional repair agent will be distributed to maximize the recovery of your body damage. After taking the horse stance, the effect will be even better. After speaking, the mentor changed the topic and began to teach some knowledge about martial arts. A class only lasts for 2 hours. Teacher Lin is very diligent and responsible, explaining a lot of knowledge, combined with the actual operation of the body, in simple and easy to understand ways. It is essential to let every student experience it firsthand, so that the money is not wasted. In just 2 hours, it was like opening the door to a new world for Lin Yuan. Wait until after class. Almost all the students have collapsed on the floor, panting heavily. Lin Yuan is actually the only 3 people among them who are still standing. Although his body was almost completely wet, he thought he needed to take a 2-hour horse walk before. However, he didn't expect that the high intensity of learning could not be compared to just 2 hours of horse walking. Even him, his feet were almost wet. Lin Nan looked at Lin Yuan in amazement and exclaimed, "Your physical condition is not bad." Lin Yuan replied, "Fortunately, I used to study humanities, but I also had a strong desire for martial arts, so I never let go of the 3rd set of fitness punches in school. It's really okay, although I followed this high-intensity learning from the beginning." But whenever he couldn't hold on, the spiritual power flowed through his body, and the tingling sensation would suddenly dissipate. Not only did he persist until now, but his body was still warm and comfortable, just like the smoke after intense exercise. And most importantly, with just one short exercise, he felt like he had a slight control over the strong general ability after spiritual power blessing. The effect is very immediate. Before class, Lin Yuan thought the courses were very expensive. But after attending one class, he realized that even without nutritional supplements and medicinal baths, this price point was definitely not high. It can only be said that Xianxia did a good job by gathering all the legitimate martial arts schools at the training center. This also leads to door-to-door competition among them, and it's a brutal internal competition. Well, he's actually a good seedling. The mentor is not skeptical about Lin Yuan's answer. Just looking at Lin Yuan, with a hint of regret in his eyes, his lips moved as if he wanted to say something, but hesitated for a moment. Just sighed and said, "It's a pity." He no longer paid attention to Lin Yuan, but looked at all the students and asked, "Do you feel very tired?" Tired is enough. The Dragon Subduing Martial Arts School has trained 67 elite warriors and 271 warriors so far, of which 7 have even become warriors before taking the Dragon Gate exam. They are directly recommended to higher education institutions. Each of them has excellent talent, but you haven't seen the hardships they have endured, the sweat they have shed, and the injuries they have suffered. Remember, the martial arts school has already arranged a medicinal bath for you. Before leaving, remember to receive nutritional repair agents, potions, and medicinal baths, which can maximize your body's recovery. After speaking, he just turned his back and left. As soon as the mentor leaves, everyone instantly relaxed. They each collapsed weakly on the mat. A young girl, about 17 or 18 years old, with long hair dyed in linen, weakly fanned the wind and complained, "Ah. I'm so tired. Fortunately, I have classes every week, otherwise I might not even be able to get out of bed." The man next to her, who seemed to be her boyfriend, feigned anger and said, "That's too much. I don't allow anyone else to keep you from getting out of bed except me." The two of them immediately frolicked into a ball. Another student sighed and said, "But it's true that there has been great progress. I became a warrior before taking the Longmen exam. I envy it so much. I heard that if I can become a warrior without entering the Longmen exam, I can directly obtain the qualification for recommendation. I envy it so much. I have decided to take a horse stance for an hour when I go back." Thinking too much, the Dragon Subduing Martial Arts School has been established for over 30 years, only 7. Why are you so lucky? I think there have only been 7 in so many years, and those 7 are definitely not as simple as luck. The owner of the museum really has something. Everyone was talking and laughing as they walked towards the changing room. No one paid attention to Lin Yuan. But amidst the vastness of the conversation, when I looked at Lin Yuan with a corner of my eye, there was actually a hint of strangeness in my gaze. It's not disdainful or contemptuous, but rather somewhat out of place, as if looking at rare animals in the zoo. Lin Yuan ignored them and instead followed them to the changing room. Medical baths are for individual use, each labeled with their own name. Lin Yuan found the position of Zhuo Jianqing. I took out the black card and scanned it, and the closed door suddenly opened. The area inside is not large, only 5 or 6 square meters, empty, with only a large bathtub and a simple small cabinet for changing clothes, as well as a shower for washing the body. At this moment, the brown medicinal bath in the bathtub was boiling on its own. A pleasant sound has already been heard from the neighboring room. Mixed with the sound of intense splashes of water, that couple seems to have entered the same compartment without any concern for others around them. Lin Yuan changed his training suit, which had already been soaked in sweat, and tried to touch the water. He found that although the water was boiling, the temperature was not very high, around 40.50 degrees. Dig in with a gurgling sound. Suddenly, his whole body felt incredibly tingling, as if there were electric sparks dancing on his skin, stimulating his limbs and bones. Ah! I couldn't help but let out a long breath. Soaked for over an hour, by the time Lin Yuan came out, the originally cloudy medicinal liquid had become crystal clear and seemed to have been completely absorbed by his body. Lin Yuan also became refreshed. I swiped my card at the door and received a nutritional repair agent. But he didn't plan to drink anymore. His spiritual power kept his body warm and he didn't feel tired. Ordinary people only come once a week, and if they come too frequently, it may harm their health. But for me, even if I come once every 2 days, it doesn't seem like a problem. Lin Yuan murmured. I feel a bit addicted.